Hi everybody, welcome to the deep dive. So in today's video we're going to be breaking down how to look after your bolt snap. So this came from a question in Ask Mark a few weeks back, and I thought I'd just do a general video on how to look after and care for your bolt snaps because yeah, they're very useful. They're Sean's favourite piece of equipment and you do need to look after them. You can't just clip them off to a D-ring, go for a dive and then sling them in your gear bag afterwards, because the good ones, in particular, are made out of stainless steel, and steel will rust, so you do have to look after them. Let's jump in and see how to look after your bolt snaps. Now, the first piece of advice is specifically for brass bolt snaps. If you do have a brass bolt snaps, they're slightly different from stainless steel ones. What you need to do is take your brass bolt snap and just throw it into the back of a drawer and never let it see the light of day again, because brass bolt snaps, they're nowhere near as good as stainless steel ones. So if you do have one, they're nice to kind of keep around. I wouldn't throw it away, but I wouldn't really use it in the water. For stainless steel bolt snaps, the genuinely better bolt snaps, they're made out of stainless steel and you have a little spring on the inside which does rust, especially with salt water, so it's important that you wash and dry your bolt snaps very thoroughly. So after a dive, get it in some fresh, warm, soapy water and then really work that action with both triggers if you've got a double ender, and make sure that you're getting any kind of salt water out of the mechanism and then dry them up. So hang it up on a line so they can dry thoroughly. Otherwise, water is just going to get on the inside and it's going to stay on the inside. It's going to oxidize and it's just going to produce rust, which is going to lock up that mechanism. If you do have some rust in that mechanism, it's not the end of the world. The first way that you'll notice is you'll find like a raspy, kind of slow or sticking action. The action should always be nice and smooth, going backwards and forwards. If it is a little bit ratchety, then all you need to do is use a little bit of olive oil, only a drop or two in that mechanism, and then work it backwards and forwards. Try and use something natural, because when you then take it into the water, there is still going to be some residue left inside of the action, and you don't want it to damage the local ecosystem. So only about a drop or so of something like olive oil, and then just work that action backwards and forwards. That's going to collect all of the rust and any anything on the inside, and then it will drip out. Give it a good action with it, and then give it a wash. Try and get as much of it out as possible, and then again dry it properly. Another thing that can go wrong with your bolt snaps is they get stolen quite often. Sometimes it's legitimately a mistake, but in other chances it's because you have nicer bolt snaps, but a lot of them look exactly the same, so it's quite interesting and quite effective to identify your bolt snaps as your own. So there are a few different ways that you can do this. The first way is to just use some kind of electrical tape. Electrical tape is great, it's waterproof, it lasts for quite a long time, and it comes in a whole range of different colours, and you can mix and match as well. So just use a small section of coloured electrical tape and just wrap it around the midsection of your bolt snap, and that way you know that when you see that specific colour combination or specific colour, you know that is your bolt snap. You can also use a small section of inner tubing. With webbing harnesses, you tend to get quite a lot of inner tubing that sort of goes spares and just ends up in a drawer. But if you wrap it around the bolt snap and twist it and go over itself a couple of times, that's another good waterproof way, which is really strong and secure. It's not going to just slip off, to identify your specific bolt snap. But it can get a little bit bulky in the middle, so try not to do it too much if you can avoid it. As a scuba diver, I usually end up with just odds and ends of old bits of cave line just knocking around. I don't like to throw them away because they're always useful, and you can use them to identify your bolt snap as well. If you wrap it around the body of a bolt snap, then kind of melt it down so it stays in position, that's quite a good way of identifying your bolt snap, and it's also tactile as well, so you can actually physically feel that it's one of your bolt snaps. One thing that I like to do is use the electrical tape over the top as well. No other particular reason other than because the body of a bolt snap, especially a double ender, is usually quite uniform uniform. It doesn't matter how tight you make that line around it, it still moves up and down and it can get in the way of the trigger. So a good bit of sort of electrical tape just around it just really secures it and locks it in position so it doesn't move around or get in the way of the mechanism. So that was just a quick video on how to care and look after your bolt snaps, make sure they don't get stolen, or at least identify them. So if you see them on a buddy's D-ring, you can point them out and go, hey, that's my bolt snap. Yeah, let us know any tips and tricks that you've come across down in the comments below. There's a full range of bolt snaps and interesting clippy things on our website, simplyscuba.com, that you can visit by clicking on the link down in the description below. Thank you for watching, everybody, and of course, safe diving.